Stony Brook was a great opportunity because there was previous experience there. There was a link, and we had a champion that was prime for the taking. It was just about a week or two after training ended down in Bloomington. Mike had sent me an email, told me to reach out to Dr. Watkins because there had been a grand rounds there in October. Dr. Watkins was my first contact. Mike had given me the name of a purchasing person, Errol Orhack, but Errol was completely unresponsive. I left him probably about 10 messages over 2 weeks, just trying to get the guy on the phone. So he wasn't really the place to start. It was obvious. So I took his lack of response as I needed to get somebody, a surgeon on board before I could even get to him.
Well, the first interaction was good. I mean, Jason's easy to talk to. He's not trying to come in to sell me anything, which is important because I'm not really looking for somebody to sell me a product. I want to learn and make a decision on myself as to whether or not I need something.
Dr. Espat had come down and done a grand rounds there, and I knew there was a link between Espat and Watkins, and for me, it was kind of a combination of big hospital, big opportunity, combined with potential of low-hanging fruit. I had to start somewhere, so it was basic understanding of what do you think of our product, what do I need to do at the hospital, who do I need to talk to, and what's the process I need to follow.
There's a product evaluation committee that looks at all new product purchases. We want to look at whether or not we're substituting product, which is what made this a little bit easier as we used it as a full product substitution. And then we want to look at cost and look at what are the reasons why we want to change. And you need to have one person who's putting forward the product specifically.
Watkins to get a champion. You need to get a champion first. Once you got the champion, it was then getting chair approval, which is Dr. Mark Shapiro. After speaking with Dr. Shapiro, I turned my attention to the administration of the hospital. Errol is the OR material buyer for Stony Brook, and I learned very quickly that Errol is not a phone person. I went down and I just sat at his office and waited for him. Finally, Mike had come into town, Mike Nelson. We wound up going down there together, and Errol just happened to be in his office. We caught him. Errol's going to place the order, then Clara is going to order the product. So it was, surgeon approval, order/buyer buy-in, and then it came down to purchasing officer approval. And Errol also has his pulse on what's going on in the OR. He knows exactly what the doctors are doing, he knows exactly what products they're using, and he knows what problems they're having.
Well, it's different when you know something about a product. From my standpoint, it's nice to see somebody who's going to listen to what you have to say when you have experience, and listen to it and not try to tell you what the potential problems that you would run into. The new design changes and everything made that easier for me to convince the other surgical staff. Also, the other problems that we've had with the other biologic matrices have been, instrumental in pushing us back to what I knew had previously worked.
I handed him the new graft. I hydrated a piece. He played with it. He looked at me and he said, "This is 100 times better than what you used to have." He said he liked it and that he wouldn't have a problem using it.
I want something that's going to do the job that I need it to do. I mean, basically all I'm looking for is reinforcement. I don't want something that's going to be there for 10 years. I don't want something that's going to spit out of my wound for 8 to 10 months post-operatively, like I've seen some other products. The operations that we do that have high wound complication rates, a lot of pancreatic surgery, esophageal surgery, gastric cancer surgery, people who have poor nutritional states going into the operation, have wounds that are at high risk for a breakdown where they could potentially eviscerate. I think that's probably the easiest place to fit it in terms of oncology. I think the biggest problem most people have is understanding what the product is and what the potential applications are. From my standpoint, I want to use it as a reinforcement to something that I'm already doing or already fixing. So people are at high risk that the wounds that I'm repairing, or the hernias that I'm fixing, or the anastomoses that I'm repairing, that if they're at high risk that those are going to break down, then I want something that's going to potentially give a little bit more tissue ingrowth, potentially reinforce that area so that it can prevent it from causing me a problem down the road.
I'm asking what's going on. I want to know what's happening, and to be there and just interacting with them is good, because it's just good to know what our product's doing. We're making some progress with the colorectal guys. We're making a lot of progress with the thoracic guys. I think we're in already with the pelvic floor people, with the urogynes, and hernia seems to be taking off, and then plastics. Dr. Kahn's been great. I mean, he's doing abdominal wall reconstructions that he was using for Alloderm. Now he's going to start using our product.
Everybody has good and bad people that come through. It's nice to have somebody that you can talk with, you can have a conversation about something where there's not any real pressure from either side. And that's been some of my biggest problems with people from some other companies, is that they have just a very hard push to sell the product to get it in, and it doesn't matter what my needs are or what my concerns are. I would basically just present how the material works for most of the surgical oncologists who really do high-end cancer surgery have a little bit of an understanding of a lot of these things and can make the decisions themselves as to who would be their high-risk patients. But just basically to give them an understanding of how the product works.
They see me more. They see that I'm there, and the big thing with them is just being there to answer their questions. And I'm always there, so if I'm there, I'm able to answer their questions. And whether it's a pelvic floor question, whether it's a fistula plug question, hernia question.
I think Jason pretty much did most of the work for me. There really wasn't much that I had to do other than, to be able to communicate with my colleagues about what my impressions were. He pretty much did all the other footwork on the side of material management and everything else, so I didn't really have to interact with them very much other than just to fill out the standard paperwork that we would have to do. Somebody who's going to be honest with you. You want to get the impression that somebody, is not trying to just throw you a load of crap. You want to know that they're speaking to you as a person, that they respect you, that that they're not going to deal with you disrespecting them either.
Yeah.
So you want to have an interaction that's a true interaction, not a one-sided conversation either way.
The fact that I'm working with all these doctors and they know who I am, when these surgeons see each other and they're looking for a good product now, they'll be like, oh yeah, well Jason, he's in OR 19, or he's meeting with Dr. Boswick today. So they know that I'm there.